$9.99. Go to Ryanair.com and book your summer holiday today. Limited availability. See Ryanair.com.
I ham a Brady family ham. I ham from Timahoe in the green and lovely fields of Kildare. I ham cured for 3 long days in the traditional way. I ham always carved from one real ham, and I ham game ball for anything and everything. Sandwiches, pasta dishes, salads. Here, I ham some ham for one ham. Brady family ham. It's your only ham.
The summer sale at John Taylor Menswear is now on. Great reductions on our superb collection of contemporary and slim fit suits, including Herbie Frog, Strelson and Louis Farrow. Great reductions on all shirts, trousers and casual wear. Get a fresh look for less at John Taylor Menswear, 34 Upper Bagot Street, Dublin 4. See johntaylor.ie.
Are you concerned about sanitisation for your home, workforce, buildings or vehicles? If you are, Sanity System is an award-winning portable sanitisation system currently being used by business and government agencies. It is available for rent or purchase. Find out more by visiting sanitysystem.ie.
You ain't shit! I wish I was 50 years younger and I'd kick your ass.
Well, fans can be the harshest critics, you know.
And they often are.
A wife is often the harshest critic of her husband.
I thought I was invincible. That's what you're trained to believe as a sports person.
There was 4 million people in Ireland who knew much more about managing football teams than I did. When it comes to music, I can spoof with the best.
Your sporting career is the best time you'll have, and you know you have to hang on to it for as long as you like, because everything else is pretty crappy.
And this is not lies. Stephen Rochford has never spoken to Jim McGuinness in his life.
Welcome back to Off the Ball Saturday on News Talk. John Duggan with you through to 5 o'clock. You can watch us as well now on the Off the Ball social channels, on Periscope at Off the Ball for Twitter, on YouTube, on Facebook. You can download the new OTB Sports app. This is the Saturday panel. We are celebrating today 1990 Cork's wins in the All-Ireland Hurling Championship and in the Football Championship in the company of 3 legends of Leeside: Larry Tompkins, the football captain from 30 years ago, Tomas Mulcahy, the hurling captain, and the award-winning broadcaster and commentator Trevor Welch. Lads, how are we all doing up the Rebels?
Very good.
How you doing, John? All good down here on Leeside. All good.
You're all surviving the lockdown.
Yeah, we're all surviving the lockdown. I suppose we were all waiting. I suppose 2 weeks ago, I suppose, John, we were saying how we were going to survive the next number of months without GA activity. And then maybe last weekend when we heard the announcement from the GA and a bit of roadmap going forward, I think there's a bit more positivity coming into us. We're seeing lots of pictures of pitches all over Cork City and County and all over the country. And the grass looks absolutely fantastic. But what we need is a bit of action on these guys now, because it was going to be a very, very long summer without GA.
And are you looking forward to it as well, guys? You get that sense that we're on the cusp of getting back into action here.
Yeah, it is great. It's great. It'll be unusual now with it kind of power packed into a few months, but it's going to be an intriguing championship in October, November. I don't know about the grass and the sod being so good then, but it's great. It'll be back to the old times, I think, with knockout. And who knows, it might be something that we could all learn a little bit about in relation to maybe making the games. I suppose too many games, I feel, over the summer months, and the clubs have been affected, and players are not machines. So I think it'll be an interesting championship, and I think it'll be a great championship because players are going to be really, really fresh and hungry, and I'm really looking forward to it. It'll be great. It'll certainly it'll bring Santa Claus closer anyway.
Yeah, John, I suppose I'm missing the microphone badly. Cut short back in March in the Champions League and the Europa League. It seems a lifetime ago, but you know, I'm watching as much sport as I can that's on, watching the horse racing stuff, obviously watching a bit of the Bundesliga. Spanish football will be up and running in the Premier League soon, so really looking forward to that. Just trying to keep myself busy. Otherwise, thinking outside the box, getting the likes of Tomas Mulcahy on the radio show there a couple of weeks ago, as we look back actually on the double and picked our best players, best hurlers and best footballers over that 30-year period. And needless to say, Tomas featured and Sinead Larry featured as well. But you know, just really dying to get back into the action again. And you know, it won't be too long. Hopefully, I'd say the European soccer will be back in the first week of August. So really looking forward to that.
Okay, lovely shirt. Yes, sorry, John. Lovely shirt, Trevor. I must say. Did you buy that 30 years ago by any chance?
Thanks, Tomas.
I don't know if this is a Cork shirt. This is a kind of a pinkish white striped thing. This is the closest thing I could have to a Rebel shirt. Because I was down in school watching the All-Ireland hurling final of 1990, and I got my love of hurling going. But I'm a Clare supporter. But yeah, I do agree that Trevor's shirt is much better than mine. Just take it back, guys. 30 years. What was life like for you at the time, Stephen, personally, and as players and as broadcasters? For example, Tomas, you were in the bank, I think, at the time. You had a couple of poor years with Cork. You weren't on the panel in '89. When 1990 dawned on you, where were you in your head?
I suppose, yeah. I joined the scene back in 1983, so I had my first year with Cork was a loss against Kilkenny back in 1983, and then we win in '84, and it was a huge period for Cork hurling in terms of we'd lost in '82 and '83, and we had lost in '84. We'd have been the first team, I'd say, to lose 3 in a row, which would have been unheard of. And so we had a bit of success, and we had '86 then after that, and '87. Everybody remembers the famous day below in Killarney when the famine is over. Tipperary pipped us below there in Killarney. An unbelievable day for hurling, and 88 and 89 then, John, were quite periods, being honest with you. There was a lot of the team that had been there since that time, 82, 83, had moved on. People had lost form. I remember being at the bank at the time when two selectors came to meet me, and coach and selector, to say, look, we feel your time is up with Cork hurling. We feel you don't need, we're going to give you a break. We're going to drop you off the selection. And this was in the bank when this happened. So, I was a bit upset about it, but look, I put your shoulder to the wheel. I went back, trained as hard as I ever did with my club. I was captain of my club in 1989. I was captain in '88 when we lost heavily in the county final to the Bars, and there was a bit of steel about us though back then in that team, and we decided we wanted to get back to a county final. And back then, John, I suppose when you win your county championship, your club has the honour of nominating the captain for the county team for the following year. And Glen Rovers gave me the pleasure of saying, we'd love to see you go back and give a try with Cork back in 1990. And I got the opportunity, and I was really happy that the club gave me that time. And I suppose it's all water under the bridge in one sense, but what can I remember back then? Look, we didn't go back training in January. There was no training pre-Christmas. Very little of a gym, I can guarantee you that. Our training was the old Parky Queen around the tunnel, do 8 laps of the tunnel, and if you complained about it, Gerald McCarthy would say, okay, we'll change it tonight, go the opposite direction. And that's where it was, and people kind of were at the back of the queue. People used to take a couple of shortcuts, including myself. When we got around to the Blackrock end, maybe just go up into the terrace for one of the laps and wait for the boys to come around and join them again. So there was no stats, or there was nobody checking body fat or anything like that back then. So there was no cameras on you. There was no one to say, you know, you took a break there for one of those laps. But yeah, 90 turned out to be a fantastic year, John, definitely.
And Larry, for you, you went from Kildare through New York to Castlehaven, and you were nominated as captain, which must have been a great honour. You'd won the All-Ireland the year before, but you hadn't beaten Meath in a final. So your heads going into 1990 was Meath in the back of your head, I suppose, especially around a league game, the semi-final. It was very, very heated at the time, and you'd already taken the measure of Kerry too.
Yeah, well, I suppose for particularly myself and Shea, we would have known Meath better than Kerry. So I know the Cork fellas naturally would have been, their All-Ireland final would have been Kerry, particularly like Kerry had such dominance, like at that time, like they had won, like from, I'd say nearly 13, 14 years, like Munster Championship, apart from Tyke Muffy's goal in 1983. They kind of swung one Munster title for Cork, but largely for the Cork fellas, beating Kerry was huge, and it is huge because they are the major team. But I suppose for myself and Shea, we had grown up with the Meath guys, and we were kind of knowing that they were a serious team, and they were on the conveyor belt, and we knew like that probably the challenge was going to be harder and stronger as we went along. But Meath was a team like that. look, they were tough, they're strong in every sense of the word. They were a hard bloody team to beat, like, and I think, you know, if we won the All-Ireland in '89, we had suffered defeats to Meath in '87, '88. I thought we were a way better team than them, and we went to replay, and it was just a battlefield the second day. Deprived a lot of the Cork fellas really from playing the type of football that they could play. And if we had to go along in 1990 and not beat Meath, like, I suppose the 1989 All-Ireland final, people say like that, you know, it's great to win an All-Ireland, but I think when two giants of football come together, and if they get the better of you again, I think it diminishes that All-Ireland. So it was a serious game for us to win, and we hadn't beaten Meath. 87 to be in the All-Ireland final, 88, as I mentioned, to be in a replay. 89, we had Dublin had beaten Meath in the Leinster final, so we didn't come across and we beat Mayo in the final. But still, there was unfinished business. And you mentioned there, John, the league semi-final. It's an amazing, that was an amazing weekend. I think Tomas might remember as well. The hurlers, I think Tomas were playing on the Monday, I think, of that Easter weekend. And we were playing on the Sunday, and both Teddy McCarthy and Dennis Walsh were playing with us in Croke Park, again Meath in the league semi-final. And it was a very, I suppose, bitter, uncompromising, even when the game was finished. There was lots of aggro afterwards, even coming out of the dressing room afterwards, and certainly it left a real bitter taste. And I think the following day, Teddy and Dennis went down to, was it Nolan Park? Tomas,
Nolan Park, correct, yeah, right.
And the story has it like this, you know, you got hammered down there, and I think the same forwards, I think the same six forwards played down there and scored, was it 5 or 6 points? Was that right? In that match?
We actually got 1 point from play, Larry.
Yeah. I think
one point from play on the bank holiday Monday below in Nolan Park, and the hailstones that were coming down.
That's right.
They were like the size of slitters themselves. So there was a couple of us there, and we were saying I was saying to the cornerback, "Here you are, off you go if you want the ball." I was trying to get a bit of shelter. It was fellas turning their back to Jock Cunningham, who was below in the goal, with his hand up in the air, looking to say who's ready to take a puck out. Nobody wanted to go near the ball. And we got slated. We got slated in the press on the Tuesday. We got hammered. 1 point from play. Right?
And I think, if I'm right, was it the same six forwards that played in September that scored 515,
yeah.
And were the same six forwards that played in Nolan Park that day. So that weekend, sometimes you need a kick in the backside, as we all know when you play sport. And I think that for us, there was no real, I suppose, motivation needed against Meath. I think both teams that day, it was probably the turning of the corner or that weekend for both teams to really, you know, get their act together. And
Trevor, just on the what Larry's just saying there about the press, you know, having a go at Cork, independent broadcasting just
certainly one that I suppose myself and
independent broadcasting had just begun there, Trevor, in the last year before 1990. What was it like at the time as a Cork fan, as somebody getting into the media, like following this team? Was there huge hope about it? Double, was it talked about?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, I can remember the buzz. I was in a young fella at the time, I suppose, in broadcasting. But you know, Cork multi-channel, you know, we're an extraordinary broadcasting company that set up in 1985. Initially, just to film the Cork St. Patrick's Day for the Cork 800 celebrations, and then they went on from there and produced a sports show in 1988, where I came from local radio at that time, in late '88, and I did a lot of the GA commentaries, believe it or not, back then. I remember Marty Morrissey joining us later, but in my previous life, Tomas and Larry would tell you, myself and Jerry Mack were doing all the county finals, hurling, football. We're doing most of the GA stuff in general. And, you know, when you look at 1990, I suppose, John, it was an extraordinary year after the euphoria of the World Cup Italia 90. And then from a Cork perspective, I mean, it was massive because, you know, Cork Constitution won the inaugural All-Ireland League. You had Neptune winning the double in basketball, the National Basketball League and the National Basketball Cup. Sonia Sullivan was just coming to the fore. Cork City were leading the League of Ireland up to the last day of the season and just needed a point against guess who, Dundalk. And Dundalk did them in the last game of the season, Tom McNulty getting the winner. So that was the only one that let us down, because I think we had a road bowling winner as well that year. And then, of course, the hurlers and the footballers both reaching the finals. And I think, obviously the hurlers came from nowhere. Chip and Galway would have been strongly fancied that time to get to the final. And Cork, like they did previously, could come from anywhere on any given year. But the footballers obviously were one of the favourites, because they were around for a few years, as Larry was talking about, beaten by Meath in 87 and 88, and then winning in 89. The pressure was on to win back-to-back titles, which wasn't easy, of course, and then against Meath. And I think I always remember the talk in the media at the time after the hurlers won the All-Ireland. Will Cork bottle it again against Meath? All this thing about bottling. I know it drove Billy Morgan crazy. He was always, I'd say that was a great motivating factor, which Larry will tell you about, obviously, for Cork coming into that they lacked bottle. But Cork had great physicality in the team as well. Like when you look at Larry, Shea Fahey scored 4 points in the final, man of the match. I know you the fellas could look after themselves. Teddy Mack, Stephen O'Brien, Nika Halan, and then Dave Barry could look after himself as well. So I'm sure these lads were saying, right, we'll see about the physicality, as well as Cork being probably the better football team. But I think, I was at the final myself for the football, and with Colm O'Neill being sent off so early on, you were thinking, here we go again, we're going to lose to Meath again. I think Colm O'Neill had Mick Lyons in trouble early on with that left foot, and Mick Lyons took the punch and got Colm sent off. But what Cork achieved after that, I thought was brilliant.
Look, we're talking there just about Billy Morgan, Trevor. The characteristics and how these guys, Cannon, Michael O'Brien, Gerald McCarthy, Billy Morgan, got the best out of the footballers and the hurlers. What were these guys like to cover, Trevor, and for Larry and for Tomas to play for?
Yeah, I think like I was very lucky in a position that Billy Morgan taught me in school, and he always made me captain of the 5-a-side soccer teams because I could play but with the educated left foot, and not that I was any good at the hurling. But Billy, I'd always a very good relationship with Billy, and he gave me great access and fairness. And then you were talking about Cannon O'Brien and Gerald Mack. Gerald Mack was doing the J commentaries with me, so we had great access there. And Cannon O'Brien, God rest him, would come in to George's Key, the multi-channel studios, midweek for a cup of tea, and I'd be tuned into the chat and getting the kind of latest, and it was fascinating listening to Cannon O'Brien. Great stories, great controlled kind of manner, but he wouldn't cross him, I'd say. And
well, look, I suppose, John, he was like Trevor mentioned Gerald McCarthy, and look, when you were from Cork and back then, I grew up watching Gerald McCarthy. I thought he was an unbelievable player. Trevor, you the long hair and the moustache, and the blue helmet and the head, right? And like part of Cork's 3-in-a-row team, I remember, been there since 66, and then part of the 3-in-a-row team. His style of play was just incredible. So here we were going into a Cork setup, and he was going to be our hurling coach, and you had Cannon O'Brien was the manager, and it had been a bad period for Cork the 2 years previously, and there was a lot of stick flying around, and fellas have said the team wasn't good enough to go anywhere. Was I good enough to come back into the squad again? And it did. And as you mentioned about the league match, that league game, it didn't turn out too well. But I say this to people: the standard for 1990 was set by the Cannon when he arrived at his first training session in the New Year below in Páirc Uí Chaoimh, and all we would hear was the roar. I think it was an Opel Manta that he arrived in, a new car. And lovely little allies, lovely flashed, and it roared into Páirc Uí Chaoimh. And there you see a registration, and you see 90C27. And he tells everybody, you're waiting outside the gate for somebody to come along and open it. Have a look at the registration. 90 for the year, C for Cork. And Cork had 26 titles to then. This will make it number 27. This is going to be our year. And that kind of set an unbelievable standard. Very, very early, you were going into pre-season training. Some fellas might have laughed at it, might have never.
But new cars, I say, even new cars at the time probably weren't that 10 a penny.
They weren't even 10 a penny, and he had great pride in his car. He loved to have the bit of flash. right? But he was a brilliant guy. He was a great manager, great guy. He knew how to get the best out of guys. He had guys that hadn't been there previously for the 2 years, like myself. There was others there as well. And he brought younger guys to give them the opportunity. But he knew some guys, all he needed to do was to get back out of them what they had produced in a number of years previously.
What was your speech like, Tomas, at halftime when you were 5 points down? I think it was a famous speech. Was it at halftime when you were under the cosh?
In Galway, against Galway, yeah.
Look, I suppose it is famous in itself because we only a couple of weeks back, I said this recently, a couple of weeks back, TJ Cahir were showing the match again, and because of the lockdown, they were showing all the archive stuff. It was 1990's turn to actually watch the game, or see the game, and luckily enough, it was lashing outside, so nobody could go anywhere, or nobody go out the garden. So I think everybody had to tune in and watch the match for the afternoon. But about a half an hour before the game, I get a call from Dr. Con Murphy. And Con says to me, "Will you do me a favour?" He says, including myself. He says, "Would you ring 3 or 4 of the team and tell them not to turn on the television until about 2:45, because they won't want to see the first half again." We could have been 20 points down in the first half, and we were absolutely cat. And we went in at halftime. Oh my God, did we get some roasting? It was.
Well, you got a shower as well. He was throwing buckets of water at people, wasn't he?
He just said, you and you out into the shower area, and out they went, and there was buckets of ice cold water. Take off your jerseys, and about time you woke up, lads. This is Croke Park. This is not back in the hotel. You're not back in Cork. And fellas were gobsmacked, and kind of Jim Cashman took a lot of criticism for his first half because Joe Cooney, I think, had scored 1-5 or 1-6 at that stage from play, and Jim was kind of rushing around the dressing room as well, and kind of said to Con, "What am I to do?" And Con says, "There's only one hope you have, Jim, that Joe Cooney will not keep up the pace that he was in the first half." But Jim had an unbelievable second half. Jim was absolutely brilliant. But and I'm sure, Larry, you can describe dressing rooms and stuff like that, but there was a defining moment. We're all around in a huddle. You're going back out onto the field for the second half. It's been a disaster. The cannon is there. He's down on one knee. He's a red jersey in one hand, and he's a hurley in the other hand. And he's on about, do it for the parish, do it for your family and stuff like that. He said, "There's only 3 of you outside in the field," he says there. "Work your sort in that first half." And Kevin Hensey, this is gospel truth, put up his finger, and he says to Cannon, "Can you name who the other 2 Cannon are?" Now, Kevin was having a stinker of a first half again, but there was a bit of a laugh and a bit of a giggle between fellas. And there was tears in the Cannon's eyes before we went out in the second half. And look, we could have broke the dressing room door out to get out. We didn't deliver in the first half, and we prepared very, very hard. And it didn't go well the first 10 minutes. We went actually from 5 points, we went 7 points down. I knew the game was over, time to go home. But there was a bit of a resolve. He didn't panic on the line. He kept guys there. Didn't have a great first half, and suddenly we got ourselves into the game. But the Cannon was an incredible motivator, incredible man to get the best out of individuals. And that day, we'll remember it forever, people in the dressing room. That was just an incredible speech.
And Larry, Billy had his own way. He was a guy who liked meticulous preparation, fitness. He was fiery. How did he kind of differ from the Cannon, and how is he similar?
Well, Billy would be very passionate, like naturally enough. He's I suppose coming to a Munster, like, geez, he hated Kerry, like, you know what I mean? Like, he was so built. He was just so built for them, and was incredible, like. And I suppose, like, a lot of it is to do with, I suppose, the dominance they had there for a long, long time when he was involved as a player and then as a manager early on. Equally, like, a lot of the Cork fellas, like, I know Teddy Mack now, Jesus, Teddy often told me, Jesus, like, you know, Kerry, if he bet Kerry, you know, nothing else mattered, you know what I mean? So he was just fanatical about that as well, like, and I suppose beating Kerry, I remember down in Killarney, we beat them, went to a replay in '87, was my first year involved with Cork, and inside in the dressing room when we were after beating, and of course, like, the euphoria was incredible, like, and, you know, there was a bus there. We were staying down in the Castle Ross Hotel, and you probably needed a bus to get down there. It was a bit of a trek or a bit of a walk. And I remember someone saying, in the dressing room. I think it was John O'Driscoll saying, like, where's the bus parked? Billy just flipped up, and this was after the game. He said, I don't give a damn where the bus is. We're going to walk through the town, the whole lot of us. We came down here so many times, and we're after losing that that was the time to really rub it into them, and we walked down there, and remember, and so I don't think very few of us anyway got back down to the Castle Ross afterwards anyway. I think we were in a lot of the pubs.
We're talking about the Cork 1990 hurling and football double. It was achieved in 1890, achieved in 1990 with the legends that are Larry Tompkins, the football captain that year, Tomas Mulcahy, the hurling captain, and the broadcaster and commentator Trevor Welch on Lee's side. 53106, we're going to be back after this break talking more about 30 years ago, the double.
The Saturday panel on Off the Ball.
TechFinder gives your business access to thousands of IT contractors globally on one direct platform. Browse thousands of professional profiles. Create job postings. With a no-commission policy, TechFinder's subscription platform does the work for you. Join now as a company or contractor at techfinder.com.
On Alive and Kicking this weekend, I'll be joined by the incredible Jonathan Ranson, who 6 years on from an accident which left him paralysed from the chest down, recently completed a hand cycle marathon. I'll meet mum of three Kim Burke, who felt compelled to design a range of sustainable, eco-friendly children's wear, and food writer Susan Jane White on growing your own and then what to cook with them.
Alive and Kicking with Claire McKenna.
This Sunday from 9 a.m.
on News Talk.
Whatever else changes, looking after baby is still top of every parent's list. With everyday savers from Dunnes Stores, we've got cooling and soothing baby wipes, only 95 cents. Skin-friendly super absorbent newborn nappies from €1.39. And baby dry nappies designed for comfort and long-lasting dryness from €2.79. Plus, with our grocery voucher, you save an additional €10 on every €50 you spend. Everyday savers from Dunnes Stores. Always here for our customers, always better value. Terms and conditions apply, minimum spend required.
Oak Park. Real rashers rediscovered. Crafted and cured in Tipperary.
Some of us are finding being outdoors hard. Keep in mind people with disabilities, including the visually impaired. Social distancing can pose real challenges, so just in case, offer support and step aside to give space. We're in this together. For more wellbeing advice, see gov.ie/together, an initiative of the Government of Ireland.
In difficult times, small businesses across Ireland are transforming to meet the needs of their customers. So we're transforming too. On Post Commerce is here to help you get through. With 25% off standard parcel labels for Advantage card holders to get your product to customers' doors. A €1 million direct mail grant to get your message into their hands. And an e-commerce support hub to help you get going. So you're open for business, even if your doors are closed. For more, see onpost.com/commerce or visit your local post office. On Post Commerce, for your world. T's and C's apply. Grants up to a max of €1,000 per business.
While other luxury car manufacturers are transitioning to the future of motoring, Lexus is already there. Ceasing production of diesel cars 7 years ago and building an unrivaled expertise in hybrid innovation. Today, the Lexus range is the first choice for self-charging luxury hybrids. So if you feel it's time to move on from diesel, put your mind at rest and let your heart race. Welcome to luxury hybrid. Lexus. Experience amazing.
Dad bods, lockdown love handles, the dreaded COVID stone. Did you know abdominal fat expands in response to stress? Cool Sculpting offers permanent removal of fat cells in the tummy, flanks, thighs and chin with no surgery and no downtime. Amara Medical Clinic is now offering 6 Cool Sculpting cycles for the price of 4. Let us help you get one thing back to normal. Amara Medical Clinic. Great skin, greater confidence. See amara.ie and book in for a free consultation.
Home. Suale. We're at home a lot these days, but we can still explore with the TG Ceathair player. Explore the home of Irish content. Home to award-winning documentaries, home to critically acclaimed series, home to culture, trad music and sport. Explore Ireland from the comfort of your home. Explore the TG Ceathair player app. Now available to download for free. Gachaid. Worldwide. TG Ceathair. Sunna Suala.
Your health is your wealth, and in these uncertain times, your wealth also needs protection. Smart investors understand how owning gold can do exactly that. By owning physical gold as coins or bars that can be easily and safely delivered to you or professionally stored by Ireland's longest established and most trusted precious metal experts, Goldcore. Visit gold.ie to find out more. That's gold.ie.
Missing this? When that didn't materialise, I think both Paulie and myself probably looked at each other and kind of thought, what next?
Then get this, the all-new OTB Sports app. Off the Ball, Ireland's premier sports channel, now has a new home, featuring the biggest names in Irish and world sports. Podcasts, interviews, news, commentary, analysis, plus almost 20 years of sporting archives. All free and ready when you are, at home or on the go. The new OTB Sports app. Download it now from the App Store and Google Play.
Hate missing out? News Talk Extra is news, entertainment and all the latest podcasts, plus expert tips and competitions straight to your inbox. Subscribe now at newstalk.com/extra. Taking Stock with Vincent Wall.
The last few weeks have seen more economic and financial change and disruption than many of us have experienced in a lifetime. So what happens next? Join me each week as we ask what the future holds for the worlds of work, markets, industry, environmental and corporate sustainability and social support systems. And what kinds of political and financial decisions will shape that future?
Taking Stock with Vincent Wall.
Listen and subscribe to the podcast now or tune in Sunday mornings at 10.
On News Talk. Across Ireland. This is the IMRO Radio Awards Station of the Year. This is News Talk.
It's 2 o'clock. Good afternoon. I'm Trevor Keegan. Further government formation talks will take place this afternoon, with all sides saying good progress was made last night. Yesterday, the Taoiseach said he's hopeful that agreement can be reached on a deal this weekend. Issues including housing and agriculture were covered last night, and Fianna Fáil's Thomas Byrne doesn't expect any further stumbling blocks.
They shouldn't present any particular difficulties, but I don't want to prejudge the outcome of it. There is still discussion to be had, but we're clearly moving to the last phases of these negotiations, and I think everybody has put their shoulder to the wheel to try to get agreement. There's give and take on every side. What we'll have now here is, I suppose, if we get a government over the line, clear direction for the country to give a bit of stability, which I think is badly needed.
Our political correspondent Sean Defoe says the leaders will sign off on the proposals before they are presented to party members for full approval.
The general prediction is that at some point tomorrow we'll see a programme for government after the plenary teams have signed off on it. It does need to go upstairs to the party leaders for final approval and for any kind of outstanding issues, if there are any left. Looks like certainly, if not tomorrow, then by Monday we'll have a programme that they can look to put to their parties.
Large crowds of people have gathered in central London for counter-demonstrations to the Black Lives Matter rallies. They want to protect statues, including one of Winston Churchill, after some were vandalised last weekend. Police say they've introduced a curfew for protests of 5 p.m. Lastly, hotelier and TV personality John Brennan believes Ireland is lucky other countries have already begun opening hotels early. Under the government's plan to ease COVID-19 restrictions, Irish hotels can open their doors again from June 29th. Mr Brennan, who presents At Your Service with brother Francis, says it means important lessons can be learned here.
There's been guinea pigs all over the world, in Hong Kong, in Holland, in Sweden, in Germany. These have all opened up, and we're talking to those hoteliers and we're getting the feedback from them. So we'll implement what's required. It'll be behind the scenes. It'll be disguised from the guests as much as possible. And there will be a cost, yes. We have to be very visibly cleaning. We have to have a person on the doors, but so be it. That's it. We're in a world that has changed.
And that's all for now. It's 2 minutes past 2.
News Talk Weather.
Thanks to the AA. For our lowest car insurance price guaranteed, go online to the aa.ie.
Sunny spells will spread from the south and southeast this afternoon, but there will be heavy showers later in southern areas, with a chance of thunder in parts of Munster and South Leinster, along with some spot flooding. Top temperatures 17 to 21 degrees. And now you're up to date on News Talk.
The Saturday panel on Off the Ball.
Welcome back to Off the Ball Saturday on News Talk. John Duggan with you 3 to 5 o'clock. This is the Saturday panel. I'm having a great chat at the moment with Larry Tompkins, Tomas Mulcahy and Trevor Welch about Cork's 1990 double, the All-Ireland champions in hurling and football, the Sam Maguire and Liam McCarthy Cups. Guys, there were a few interesting things going on that summer. Italia 90 being one, as Trevor, you've touched upon earlier on. Italia 90, the Ireland-Italy game, was the night before the Munster football final. And Tomas as well, you couldn't even train for the hurling final in the park because Prince was there, the artist.
Yeah, I suppose, I mean, that was the beauty of Park and Creeve even back then as well. I mean, you could see Michael Jackson was there during the summer as well, Prince to follow, Shemsha Kushley and all that kind of stuff was going on during the summer months as well. And Italia 90, who can forget that, to be honest with you? Whether you were hurling a football, you were very much engaged in all the activity hurling a football as well. So when everybody else was maybe having a party and running wild and heading to town for celebrations, I suppose we had to be kind of on our guard and look after ourselves a bit more. But I do remember, was it the penalty shootout and stuff like that as well, right? Was just incredible, you know. It was incredible times. It was Trevor mentioned from a Cork perspective over that year. I mean, the involvement of Cork people in sport was incredible, and you know, I didn't realise about Cork City and Dundalk, which we're very, very close as well, because it would have been all red, John. We'd have upset a few of the Dubs, I'd say. It would have been all red.
Well, luckily, we've got the 5 in a row to talk about now.
Right, yeah. But you did say you're from Clare again, wasn't it? All right.
Well, that's it. Yeah, I pick the county. Depending on who's winning, lads. I can pick the county. Motherson, Limerick, Dadis from Clare, Dublin, 5 in a row. Yes, so we can pick whoever we want.
You'll get me back. Okay.
To be fair. It was a strange preparation for a Munster final, Larry, with the Ireland-Italy game, the biggest game in the history of Irish soccer, the night before.
Yeah, amazing, Nick. I had a pub that time across from the train station, and I had to move out. Usually that time the West Cork fellas had come up the night before a Munster football final and stay in the old Jury's Hotel and the Western Road. That's no longer there now, but it was a great spot to stay in, a great GA kind of fraternity. Always went to the Jury's Hotel. So, you know, you can imagine like all the pubs were mad that time, and I had to move out of my premises, and I joined the lads from West Cork, and I spent the night looking at the match in the room. I think with Mike Callan was room with me, so we watched it there. And after the game, then there was about 6 or 7 of us, Lord Mercer, Mick McCarthy, and I was there, and Tony Davis and John Cleary and a few of us. So we ventured downtown. We said we'd take a look and see what was happening going on around the town. So it was just incredible scenes. Like, geez, there was any cars that was trying to get through Washington Street or were just being manhandled, and there were people all over the cars. And look, it was good fun. It was great. And as Tomas said, it was just an incredible time. It was so exciting, like those games. And you know, Ireland felt like that, you know, they could have won the World Cup, and that's the way they were. And I think the people felt like they could have won the World Cup, like they were so close. And it was just a magic time. And you know, and then to go out the next day and the Munster final against Kerry, amazing statistic, because that time there was no back door. And 1989 we had won the All-Ireland final in Mayo, and that Munster final, believe it or not, we were missing 6 of the team that started in the 1989 All-Ireland final. Now, Denny Allen retired, but we had 5 other players that started that couldn't play because of injuries, and we beat Kerry by the biggest margin ever. So that would just give you an indication in the strength and depth of that Cork team and the panel. Like, we had guys like Danny Cullity, Paddy Hayes, John O'Driscoll, you know, John Cleary coming in as subs, like, and you know, excelling and really making a big stake claim for a position on the team. And Colm O'Neill, like, came in. I remember you're talking about Colm. One great story. You know, Colm came in. He didn't even know. Colm didn't even know that morning that he was even on the 21 or alone on the team. And Billy Morgan rang me up that morning, the night before, and asked me who did I think that should be calling for, because we had so many players missing. And I just said, like, give Colm a shout, you know, like he drove into Jury's Hotel the next morning. I remember I waited for him at the corner of the building, and I had a few words with him in relation to the game. And by God, well, a lot of people don't realise Colm O'Neill kicked 11 points in that Munster final in Kerry, like, and hardly anyone ever mentions it. And what an exhibition of football he gave. And Frank McGuigan was a brilliant player for Tyrone. He kicked 11 points against Armagh, but never once, it's hardly ever mentioned that Colin O'Neill kicked 11 points in the Munster final in Kerry, and it was our biggest victory we ever had over him. I think we beat him by 17 points. And there was a guy down in Balliny, and we probably all know him or came across him, John Cochran. They called him Bozo, and Bozo was sitting beside my brother that day, and of course he was after having a lot of drink inside my establishment before he went to the match. And about 15 minutes to go. About 15 minutes to go, we were about 13 or 14 points ahead, and the Kerry crowd, as they were trickling out of the ground, and he stood up in the middle of the stand, and he said, "Lock the gates and let them suffer." The Lord of Mercy on John and Boza, he was a great character. He's passed away since, a young man, a brilliant guy, and somebody I used to love to see, because he was just one of these Cork people that would, that put his heart on the jersey. He was a great man.
John, the hurlers would never do that. We'd never kind of shout, "Lock the gates," or anything like that. No.
You got the train up to Thurles. You got the train up to Thurles, Tomas, and you scored 4-16 against Tip.
Yes, like
you were playing.
Yeah, it was incredible, because like Teddy McCarthy wasn't playing either. Teddy was injured as well for the Munster final. But there was something after that league semi-final, the flack that we got, the type of training that we did, the emphasis that the Canon put on Cork hurling was just incredible, because like he was a great character, but he could be very cranky at times, John. And if things weren't going his own way, he'd let you know on certain terms. And there was times in the park, he'd have the bag of slitters over the shoulder and the new slitters, and our training was throw down 12 or 15 balls, and you're going to let it fly up and down the field. You'd have two goalkeepers inside the parky creep, and whatever way it came, you hit it. But you had to hit it the way it was coming, in terms of right hand, left hand, off the ear. You weren't allowed to pick the ball in your hand unless you cut it off the ear. You weren't allowed to bend down and pick it. And this could go on for 20, 25 minutes. And it was incredible, the amount of times you hit the ball left and right, hit the ball on the ground, 15, 20 yards out from goal to have a goal shot, But there was this particular night, and this was coming up to the Munster final against Tip. He wasn't happy with the way things, fellas were sauntering around, fellas were doing this. Called everybody in, pick up the slitters, put the 15 slitters into his bag. I'm out of here. I'm gone. You can forget about me. I won't be back. You're absolute disgrace. You're shocking. Off he went. And you could hear the roar of the car going up out the parking weave. And they were all outside. Left, what do we do now? Now fellas were giggling, and fellas were saying, like, sure, we'll find a slitter. We'll puck a ball somewhere. So about 20 minutes later, in he arrives again. Out the tunnel outside. I'll give you one last chance. One last chance. And he threw the balls again. And we flaked ourselves. We flaked each other around for that 15, 20 minutes after that. And you knew he was after getting into fellas' heads, and you knew he was getting the psyche ready for the Munster final in Tipperary, because like our rivalry with Tipperary that time was incredible. I mentioned about the famine being over. 84 Munster final, Tip, 85, 87, the famine is over in Killarney. Probably they'll feel one of their greatest days below there. We were very upset with losing that match, but an unbelievable occasion. So the rivalry, 91, 2 matches in Thurles and Parky Cueva, were 9 points up in one match, 10 points up in the other one, and they beat us. But 1990, nobody gave any Cork team all over the country, and I'd say even within Cork themselves, any chance of beating Tip. They were all Ireland champions from '89 above in their home patch, Simple Stadium, in the Munster final. But it turned out an unbelievable day for Cork, and for the likes of Mark Foley. Kieran McGuckin was captain at the time. The younger generation came into play. They were given their chance by Cannon and by Jordan McCarthy, and they stood up to the plate. And like, when you get a bit of momentum, and he always said a Cork team well prepared would be very, very hard to be beaten, and he was dead right.
Trevor, were Cork all about confidence and tradition once they got on a roll like that? You saw it in '86 against Galway in the final, against Tipperary that year. You were at the Munster final. Did you always feel that you had it in you because of your tradition, that you could turn it on in a certain year and win a title out of the blue?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the squad of hurlers that were there, I'm sure there was even though they were underdogs, there was great belief, as you saw in the Munster final against Tip, that with astonishing scoreline. I think it was a 4-16, and then in the final score 5-15. I mean, great forwards. When you look at the scorers in the final, I suppose Tomas scored. Was it 1-2? Kevin Hennessy scored 1-4. John Fitzgibbon's a great goal scorer. But I just think, like, when you look at Galway, were very consistent around then. They were in 6 finals, I think, in 10 years, but they had a bad record against Cork, and maybe it's the red jersey, Galway, but just when Cork get to a final, you'd always give them a chance. And even when they were 5 points down at half time, but I think the closing 20 minutes, Cork showed the character again, like when the big players came into their own, like including Tomas, who's man of the match, weren't you, Tomas? But I think that the save from Joe Cunningham as well was hugely important in the second half of that match. Like, if they scored, then Cunningham made an unbelievably brave save, and the goal that was disallowed as well. But I think the Cunningham one as well, Tomas will correct me if I'm wrong, but it should have went out for a 65, and they gave it wide.
Yeah, look, to be fair, look, I mean, we are talking about 30 years ago, and it still seems only like yesterday, but look, to win big matches like that, and Larry, you know that yourself, to win big matches, you need a slice of luck as well. And look, we had a bit of luck on the day, to be fair. I mean, Galway had an unbelievable first half. Galway that back then were on the crest of a wave, right? 87 and 88, and you're looking at kind of your situation where their half-back line of Peter Finnerty, Tony Keeley, and Jerry McInerney were recognised as probably being one of the best half-back lines there. You're then up front with Joe Cooney and you had Noel Lane and these guys have been around, and fantastic players. And we had an element of luck. You're right. The ball there that I think it was Martin Naughton went through in the second half. He went for goal. They hit Joe Cunningham just in the temple here, just above the nose, and it went out for 65. The umpire waved wide. We had a free puck out, and I think we went down the field and we got a score. And small margins like that made a massive, massive difference. I mean, if they had got a goal even at that stage or converted to 65, there might have been no way back for us. It might have been just too far, but it kept us in the game. And like you said, Trevor, look, there was an unbelievable belief coming from a Munster final that this Cork team had the ability to get goals. And our motto was, and that came from the training, whatever happened, if the man is in a better position than you give him the ball. It isn't about who scored it. It's about how you actually played as a team collectively. And if the guy was in a better position, and Kevin Hennessy to me was the unsung hero there. He did get his goal himself, but on 2 occasions he got a tap ball over the bar, but he had a vision to see guys in different positions. He put a ball into the hand of Mark Foley that buried it at the back of the net, and did similar to John Fitzgibbon as well. And I think that was the strong point. Defensively, excellent team. I mean, Sean O'Gorman, Shawnee McCarthy, all these guys, Dennis Walsh were fantastic as well on the day as well. And fellas made a comment to me when they looked at the match, the amount of ground hurling we did. Something you're not seeing anymore, John, in the modern game.
But great match. Yeah. Skillful and
end-to-end stuff.
And 2 goals in 90 seconds from your clubmate.
That's right, and like it was about how we prepared going into it, and the belief Cork hurling, the strength, get the ball in as quick as you could to the inside line. That was most of the centre forward told. Whatever you do on Keedy, make sure he doesn't catch it. And if the ball breaks, all you got to do is whip on the ground, get the ball inside to Hennessy, to John Fitzgibbon, to Mark Foley inside, and they'll do the damage. And that's the way it turned out. But certainly we had a lot of luck on the day as well. Can't deny God with that.
Larry, did you hate Meath?
It's funny.
He hated Curry anyway, didn't he? Yeah.
That was Billy. I don't know about Larry.
It's funny with Meath. Like, I grew up with all those Meath fellas, like, since I was 16, 17 years of age. Like, of course, when you play somebody so often, and you become the 2 giants of the game, and they're getting the better of you. Of course, if you don't hate them, well, then there's something wrong with you. You know what I mean? Like, but hate meaning in a manner of between the White Lions. Like, I don't think I was ever a player like that when I left the White Lions. Like, that I was falling out with people. I think the greatest testimony of any person is like that. Win, lose or draw, you go beyond that white line after the game, and your personality is the same. You don't just hate them for the sake of hating them. Like, you know what I mean? So, of course, there was massive games and massive confrontations. But, like, look, I think both teams realise now Meath had beaten us and we beat them. I think both teams realise now, like, those All-Ireland medals are special because tomorrow, I always say like that if Cork arrived at that time and Meath just arrived a few years later, Cork could have been like Dublin, could have won 4 or 5 All-Irelands, like, because they had that potential. And equally with Meath, like, Meath were a serious team, lads. You know, they were as good as team as you'd see coming to Gaelic games for a long, long time. So I think it was just two colossal giants coming together and just really battling it out to the bitter end. And so many games were uncompromising, but by God, you know, you needed to be able to stand up and be able to look after yourself, because that time there was no look. The linesmen did look at you and to remember the first All-Ireland final, John O'Driscoll and Kevin Foley were, before the game, there was a boxing match going on, and then when the ball was thrown in, they were still fighting, and the linesman was looking at them, and sure, you look, you just move on. That's the way it was. And you know, there was great battles that time. There was great hard hitting and good, honest to God football like that. You'd love to see a little bit of that coming back into it. You know, I know everything it involves and the game is quicker and faster and all of those things now, but a lot of the good game of football has gone out of the game as well, like, and you'd like to see a little bit more of that coming back in.
How did you get through the last 10 to 15 minutes? First of all, how did Cork get towards the finish line with one less player, and how did you do it? Because I think you did your cruciate.
Now, it's funny, Lord of Mercy Mick McCarthy went down, I'd say, with about 15, 16 minutes to go, and Dr. Khan came on, and Mick got a bad injury as well on his knee, and Khan basically took him off straight away, like he said, he couldn't continue. And it's funny, it was about 3 or 4 minutes later, a similar thing kind of happened to me. I always blame Barry Coffey. He kicked the ball, the pass went way out over my head, and I was running, but I was getting there second. Martin O'Connell was coming the other direction, and it was just a collision, and I went one way and my knee went the other way, and I knew I was in serious trouble. But look, the momentum of the game, and I suppose the desire to beat Meath, like that, you know, pain doesn't come into it, and I knew I was in trouble. I just bounced up off the ground and just said, look, forget about it, and that's the way it just happened. But I think Cork showed great strength and resolve. The focus was incredible, like, for that game, and you know, even in the dressing room at half-time when Colin O'Neill had just been sent off, it's an amazing. Tomas was talking about certain things that happen in the dressing room, and it's spontaneous. It just, you know, things happen at a time like that. Your focus has to be at its highest, and Cork, believe it or not, none of the players sat down in the dressing room at half-time. None of the players, I'd say, we didn't even hardly knew that Colin O'Neill was sent off. It's hard to believe. And we just couldn't wait to get back out there again. And I think in the second half, Cork played a very shrewd game. We played a lot of the balls out towards the corners, and Mick Lyons was completely on his own. He was standing right behind me and Liam Harnan. And you know, Mick didn't touch the ball for the whole second half. It's amazing. And the likes of Paul McGrath was brilliant in the corner, and of course Shea Fahy was outstanding. And it was just our backs too that day. It was just colossal. Like Barry Coffey, Conor Coonan, Mick Sloan, and Tony Nation, Stephen and Niall were brilliant. Like, and of course, the man that, like Gerard Cunningham probably saved the hurlers, the man that really saved us at the end was John Cairns. Was a brilliant save, and John was such a brilliant footballer. Like, it's hard to comprehend like how good he was. Like, it was just in the Munster final in 1990, like, or in 1987, when Kerry got to go with Mike Sheehy, the bomb was hanging out at the crossbar celebrating, and John Cairns had the ball kicked out. And believe it or not, he kicked the ball out 50, 60 yards with his left foot. Like, a lot of people don't even know it, like, with his other foot. And he had it kicked out so quickly that it would just remind you of today's, like, with Stephen Cluxton, like, in the manner of the way he's able to kick the ball. But John was an incredible guy, an incredible player, and he really saved us at the end, like, with that great save from Brian Stafford.
Trevor, the homecomings, the celebrations, you were leading those?
Yeah, it was incredible. I mean, obviously the greatest achievement probably in GA history to be involved as a young fella there, like it was incredible. After the year we had, I was in Italy for the World Cup. I was at the Prince concert too, by the way, and the fans.
I was at the Prince one as well.
That homecoming was incredible. 3 things that stand out most in that homecoming. Obviously, the size of the crowd. I don't know, was there more than 50,000 people in Patch Street that time? Because the hurlers obviously had their homecoming, then the footballers, and a lot of the hurlers turned up on the night. But when Tomas and Larry swapped the cups, the 2, Sam Maguire and the Liam McCarthy in Cork in the one night, it was emotional stuff. You could see it in the fans. And I was on top of the Savoy, this kind of a old cinema stroke nightclub, on top of the Savoy, watching everything, great vantage point. And that was one of the great things. The other one was Billy Morgan, the quote, and he talked about the bottle all the way up to the final. And so it was a rallying cry for the Cork footballers that we have the bottle. And you could see how it got to him on the stage. He was a bit emotional, and he said, what were they talking about, the press leading up to this final? The bottle, was it a Coca-Cola bottle, a Heineken bottle? He said, I tell you one thing, he says, you can take the cork out of the bottle, but you can't take the bottle out of Cork. And that allowed the biggest roar of the night, I would say. The place went ballistic. And then Bishop Buckley was a great GA fan. His comment as well was that there's 2 types of people in Ireland tonight: Cork people and those who wish they were Cork people. So there were kind of standout moments from the homecoming. But looking back at it, and I sent the pictures up to you, John, it was incredible
Thank
stuff.
you.
And be part of history. Be part of that history was unforgettable.
What's the legacy, lads?
I suppose, John, when it happens at the time, because like when we won the hurling side of it, I remember kind of saying at the end of my speech, we'll be back again in a couple of weeks' time to share on the football, and hopefully we can do the double. But we had a great fortnight because we were out celebrating. We were heroes down in Cork. We were invited everywhere. We were having great parties. But behind it, Larry and their team had to do their stuff. They had to go into the training camp and the training mode, and because it started beginning momentum, then the talk of a double. And you mentioned 1890, and but we were in a comfort zone. We were going to be having the pints and having the crack and going to all the parties and being invited everywhere. But you're travelling then to Croke Park at the weekend on the Saturday for the football final, and you kind of get a call, will you put the McCarthy Cup, bring the McCarthy Cup with you? So I put it into a black plastic bag and I put it into the boot of the car, and I kind of think no more about it. And you're sitting in the Hogan stand, and like as you mentioned about Larry, and you're looking down at Larry and he's kind of carrying one leg, and how he's an amazing guy because how he continued on was just incredible. And to do it against a team that had an extra man back in the fence, I mean, it showed the character and the strength of mind that this guy had when he played the game, because it was incredible. And here I'm looking up this, I'm sitting down, and this is becoming to be a bit of a reality. There is a chance that we're going to win this football match. There's a chance that it could be a double, and you don't kind of realise at the time. But we were asked then to go to the banquet on the Sunday night where the footballers were, and there was the first time that you see the McCarthy Cup and the Sam Maguire together on the table for two Cork teams. And after then, the momentum takes over, and it was an incredible time, the homecoming and all that. But it's 30 years ago, and you're kind of looking back in it, and you're saying to yourself, yeah, I mean, it was great times. Can it be achieved again? I'm sure it can be achieved again, and there will be team out there maybe that will come good. There's very few opportunities, but I suppose we look back in and we say to ourselves, yeah, it was really, really great time for Cork GA and for Cork sport, no doubt about that.
And Larry, Cork football seems to be on the up a bit again, which is great to see after a few years in the doldrums. And you were involved, of course, as a manager in '99. You won in 2010. You're seeing Cork potentially getting back up to the top tier of football.
Look, Cork have serious players, and will always have serious players. Like it's you know, the talent like that Cork have like is incredible. Like you look at them at minor level, under 21 level, you know, I think that certain little ingredients might be missing a little bit, but it was really, really encouraging last year towards the run through the Super 8s, and to see the way they played even in the Munster final, and to see them the way they played through the Super 8s was very, very encouraging. I think that, please God, there's a lot to look forward to. I think Cork have a lot of potential coming through. And I do think like that if they apply themselves in the manner of the way you should be applying yourself and really believe in yourself, I think that there's no reason why Cork can't be real contenders against Kerry. And Kerry are a real serious team at the moment, and they are a very young, vibrant side, as we've seen from the All-Ireland. But I think that Munster final last year, Cork showed like that they're equally as good as them, and they just need to just drive on and keep that momentum going. But it's just very interesting there to just hear Tomas there about going back. It's hard to believe, like it's 30 years, like, and in fairness, I suppose Cork have been really the only county. I know it was clubs before, and it's a massive, massive achievement, like, by a county to be able to emulate the double. And I just like to kind of remember kind of a lot of those people that are kind of not around now. The John Kidd Cronin's, like, was a massive man to be around both teams, and always was, and Dan Hoare, and I mentioned Mick McCarthy and John Kearns that we've lost through the football. I'm sure Tomas knows a lot of people that was through the hurling, like, that is not with us since. But look, it was just one of those times like that. I was very fortunate to be playing with Cork and having the honour to play with Cork and the captain Cork through my club Castlehaven. I think was a massive, massive pleasure, and I don't think anything. No matter what we do in life, I think that it was a very, very special year, and a great year to have met so many. I suppose you don't get the time at times to meet so many of the great hurlers in Cork. That's really, hurling is the massive tradition in Cork. As Roy Keane said, I'd be very friendly with Roy up and down, and he called into my pub a good bit, even though he doesn't drink now anymore. When in his younger days, when he was at Nats Forest, he'd have a few drinks. But I was on to him one night, and I said, "Geez, you've done everything in the game." And he just turned around to me, and he said, "Look, I didn't win an All-Ireland hurling." So
so he's a big fan, was he?
Yeah, he that's the difference in Cork. Like, hurling is very special, and like, it was great to meet all them hurlers at that time. Like, and I think there's a great bond there between the two teams, and that was set really alight from the function that we had there to commemorate 25 years there in the Rochestown Park Hotel. It was just a massive, massive occasion, and I don't know. It was. I think they were limiting it to Master about 400 or something to the room. I think we got in about 600.
Yeah,
it was special.
We did a few knacks, all right. Yeah, and look, I suppose when you look at the kind of the history, and like you look at we're watching the greats of the rugby scene and the Ron O'Gara's, and you look at the Roy Keanes from the soccer world, and the Sonia O'Sullivans, and the Rob Heffernans, and like. We all kind of touch base with them at times over your career, and you see him at GA matches, and Roy has gone to a lot of hurling matches. Davy Russell, the jockey, I sat alongside him at All-Ireland football finals. Like, they're people I look up to in their sport and their chosen sport as being incredible ambassadors for Cork, for Ireland, because they're at a professional and international level. But they never forget, like, about the hurling and the football, And once the final day, go down to Killarney or go to Páirc Uí Chaoimh or go to Thurles to see their hurlers in action as well. And if you're a player or you're part of a scene, that's great to see as well. Like, that level of support. And I'm sure, Trevor, you can vouch for all of that. I mean, you've seen a lot of these guys go to hurling matches and football matches over the years.
The Corkness still is there 30 years on, Trevor.
The which, sorry?
The Corkness, whatever that is.
Yeah,
the Corkiness. Oh no, the Corkness. Yes.
As Tomas said there, even the Liam Miller match. God rest him, the tribute match that was held in Páirc Uí Chaoimh, packed the place out, and you could see in the crowd, and before I was talking to people from the hurling world, Gaelic football, racing, as Tomas said, people who'd see at a rugby match might be at a GA match or a soccer match. It's unique, Cork in that sense, you know what I mean? And I just think I was blessed in my own career, I suppose, to grow up in a county like Cork, to touch base with so many different sports, and you learn from each one. And I met some great passionate men like Yaman Young down the years. I used to do this program called People in Sport, and the choice you had, and very few would say no. And we interviewed some legends down the years in people in sport, and that's That's where I got a lot of my education from, to drive on in my own broadcasting career. So I have a lot of Cork people to thank for that, you know, and the Cork sports stars. And I just think, you know, John, as well, it's been too long since we've won an All-Ireland in football and hurling. I suppose 15 years, the last 15 years we only won 2. 05 the last hurling one, and 2010 the last football one. And you just hope that, you know, we're not too far away. There's been glimpses of it on the Ronan McCarthy. I think the footballers showed a bit of it last year against Dublin. They matched them for a bit. I think they're coming. And I think the hurlers, as Tomas will tell you, like, and Tomas was saying as well about that he'd love a knockout this year, and see that might just suit Cork with the knockout. And
it's due, Tomas. It's due. Yeah, look, I mean, 2005, as Trevor mentioned, it's too long for a county like Cork. I mean, if you had a 10-year career with Cork, you would expect them to be getting maybe 2 or 3 All-Ireland medals in your back pocket, and that hasn't happened. They've been close. 2013. After that, maybe semi-final stage that you felt maybe we should have won matches, but we can't point the finger at anybody. We've got to take the blame ourselves. We've got to push on ourselves. We can't be feeling sorry for ourselves. There is a team capable and good enough of producing in Ireland. There's some fantastic hurlers there. And Trevor mentioned about a knockout series. That's what I'd love to see, John, coming now, right? Either, I know people might say it mightn't happen in football, but look, if there's a short window of opportunity for our games this year, I'd love to see all the teams put into a hat, pick out the first 2, and it's a knockout. And I think it would bring incredible excitement for a period of maybe 2 months or 3 months that we've all been craving for to see during the summer. Whether there's small attendances go to the match, but I think it would be riveting stuff, hurling and football, and I think that might save our season from a GA perspective. And also we're getting a lot of club activity as well, which is very, very important. Yeah. It is difficult times out there for clubs, even from financially, you know, clubs' income has been drained completely. Into county scene, income has been drained as well. So we need games, we need income, and we need clubs to actually get their say as well. And I think the GA have handled this particularly well, and I'd be very interested in the next couple of weeks, the formats of the championship around and venues. And you could be having matches on a Friday night, a Saturday night on the lights, a Sunday afternoon. I think it'll be fantastic going forward. Well, it's really interesting, Trevor, that you said that people don't say no, and the generosity that you've shown, Trevor, that Tomas has shown, and that Larry, you've shown over the last hour has kept us going, I think, through these tough times. We've been able to reminisce and talk about great years like 1990 when you won the football and hurling All-Ireland championships, and hopefully I'll be able to go down to Cork and celebrate with you guys when you win the Liam and when you with this time again, because Dublin have won enough now. So I'll be delighted to celebrate with you guys when you win, Liam and Sam. And we really thank you for joining us on the Saturday panel this afternoon.
Yes, John.
Thank you, John. You're welcome.
Larry Tompkins, Trevor Welch, and Tomas Mulcahy back after this.
Off the ball on News Talk.
Afternoons are easy with InsureMyVan.ie, Ireland's low-cost van insurance specialist. Get your business back on the road with InsureMyVan's best price guarantee. For super savings, visit InsureMyVan.ie. City Financial Marketing Group Limited, trading as InsureMyVan.ie, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
If your Volkswagen is in need of a service, we've introduced new hygiene initiatives and remote consultations across all Volkswagen retailers. We're open and here to help in a way that works for you, all as part of our Volkswagen Safer Measures. Talk to us about our low and no contact services and how we can provide contactless handovers and car sanitisation. We're also available to help you with any new and used sales inquiries, both online and over the phone. For more information about all our safety